Hey everybody, welcome to the Grassroots and Grounded podcast. This week we have a fun guest. It's my father-in-law, Jim Highsmith. Jim told us a lot of stories from being in the Army and serving over in Europe and touring over there, being on the ski patrol while he was in Switzerland there, from riding pigs to horses, some fun hunting stories. Just, we've talked a lot and made a lot of jokes on the podcast about Interview My Grandpa series. Well, this is one of those podcasts. Jim was such a fun listen. It was great. I think we really enjoyed it. I think you guys will too. Be sure to head over to all our social media pages on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, wherever you get your social media, and follow and like those pages. That's where we put content every week. That's where we put all our announcements out. That's where you guys can engage with us. Tell us what you want to hear, who you want to hear from, what kind of guests you'd like to see us have on. You know, we've talked a lot about trying to maybe even travel the show around and take it to some big rodeos and ropings or conventions or whatever it may be, and sit down and get some different kind of guests there. So give us some input. Tell us what you want to hear. And be on the lookout on those social media pages for some of our merchandise that's going to be coming up. We've already got some hats in. We're going to be working on getting those put up, working on some T-shirt designs, just some stuff to keep you guys engaged, because we've been so blessed with such a loyal following and listening. And thank you guys. Like, share, follow. Go to www.grassrootsandgrounded.com. That way you can find everywhere we have the podcast. Agriculture.
Western lifestyle.
Entrepreneurship.
Farm and ranch.
Stewardship.
Heritage.
All of these are the cornerstones of a way of life that has been built for generations.
The stories and the people are what keeps the traditions alive.
Welcome to the place where it all comes together.
The Grassroots and Grounded Podcast.
Hey guys, we just want to take a second and thank one of our corporate sponsors, Iris Inc. Realty, Crawford, Georgia. You know, some leaders in the real estate industry in Oglethorpe County and Northeast Georgia.
Absolutely. They've been salt of the earth. They've opened up their office to us with open arms, and they've been so kind and generous to let us record here.
Absolutely. Every episode of the Grassroots and Grounded podcast is brought to you right here from the Iris Inc. studio in downtown Crawford, Georgia. If you ever get an opportunity to stop right here in Crawford, come in the office, check it out, meet the guys and gals down here, Jessica Arnold, Blake Arnold, just the whole crew.
And it's such a great group of people and real estate agents. They're just wonderful folks.
They have, the interest of their clients always at heart. Those people are not worried about the money. If you ever have a question about real estate or anything in that part of the world, make sure you reach out to Iris Inc. Realty. All right, everybody, welcome to the Grassroots and Grounded podcast. Today we have a cool guest with us, Jimmy Highsmith. Jim's my father-in-law.
Welcome, Mr. Jimmy.
We're having another family time here, and Jim, I've known you, going on. I'm going to tell myself Lauren's going to listen. So I'm in trouble. Almost 20 years.
Yeah, 20 years.
And so, Jim, I've heard a lot of your stories. I think a lot of people find some of your stories interesting. And so I want to hear what you got to tell us. And, like everybody, we kind of start with childhood.
Okay.
So I know you've told me some of your childhood stories. So just kind of start with that and ease your way into it and tell us how we got here today.
Okay. Well, I'll go way back, because I was born in the 50s, and that, it was a different time. I mean, gas was 20 cents a gallon. You could buy a Snickers bar for a nickel and a Coke for a nickel. And so, but my mother was a single parent with 4 kids, 3 boys and a girl. And unfortunately, back in that time, a single woman, there was a little bit of a stigma to it, and she even had a hard time getting, say, a loan for a home. So because of that, we ended up living with my grandmother and granddaddy, who had a big 2-story house in the city of Monroe. And that house had 3 heaters in it. They were the old gas heaters, had one in the the kitchen and dining room, one in the bathroom, and one in my granddaddy's bedroom. We lived upstairs with no heat, so depending on how cold it got, depending on how many blankets you put on the bed at night. Well, I'll go back about how he got to this house. I think originally, I'm kind of relying on historical data. They had a farm in Grantis, Georgia, and either hard times or something, they didn't make it. So he moved into Monroe and bought this house, and he got a job with the fire department. Well, this house was, it had probably a good 2 or 3 acre lot. It was a good sized lot. Well, when he moved, the one thing he didn't get rid of, he had a mule, a wagon, and all the farm implements to go with it. So he kept those, brought them into town, and he kept the mule and the wagon at this. It was an older black man. We called him Saint. He didn't weigh 115 pounds soaking wet. So he kept his mule and the wagon there, but the farm implement at the house. So the first spring when came around that new house, all the other people around there, they had their big lots, and they had the rose gardens and the flower beds and little sitting area where they go out there and drink coffee and sweet tea in the evening. When he looked out there, what he saw was prime farmland. So he had Sank bring that mule over. He hooked his one-row furrow plow. He plowed up the whole backyard, drug it with a drag harrow, and he had the one-row planter with the fertilizer and planted corn, running beans. I mean, he just fit. So everybody, I know they had to be saying, everybody's talking about the Beverly Hillbillies. Hell, we got the Beverly Hillbillies right here in the city limits of Monroe, Georgia. And then in the back,
did you have a concrete lake or concrete pond? What did they call it?
Yeah. And in the back, he had a pig lot. So I'm sure they were a little bit in shock, but we basically grew all of our food. Vegetables, we had chickens for eggs, we had the pigs for meat, but he would freeze and all the stuff that we needed. When he's done, he'd invite the neighbors over and let them take all their needs. And so it got to be actually a nice event. They'd come out and watch him plow. Sank was something. That guy, I mean, like I said, he was probably 5'5", 115 pounds, but he'd throw them leather reins over his shoulders and he mewed, you know, all that, and plow that thing just as pretty as you ever see.
I love his name. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I kind of grew up. You know, not that I grew up on a farm, but we had a farm in the city limits. Yeah. And but the one thing that our granddad expected of us, since we were staying there, was he expected us to work. So, you know, when things got ready, we'd have to go pick them and all that. And the hogs, it was kind of, I probably couldn't do that this day and time, but when they got ready, he had some friends that worked at a slaughterhouse there in Monroe. He'd have him come out. They'd go out there with a .22 rifle, shoot them in the head and clean them right there in the back of the lot, you know. And what would happen is he'd have the pigs in, say, the spring, first part of the summer. And then he wouldn't have any more till fall, where the lot would grow up with these weeds. And the granddaddy wanted that lot to stay clean. So, you know, back then he didn't have weed. Well, we did have weed eaters, and me and my 2 brothers were sling blade. And we had to go out there and sling. And this, you know, about July, and it's hot. So we were out there one day, and he wanted us to start cleaning it. So we went out there about, I don't know, 45 minutes, and we were hot, and our hands had blisters on. My oldest brother, Bobby, said, I got an idea. He was always the one that had the idea. I got an easier way to do this. He said, come on. So we all get on our bicycles. We ride down to old Brooks grocery store and had 2 big old a gallon glass jugs. He filled them up with gas. We come back, and so we're standing on the outside of the lot, and he starts walking around a lot, and he's pouring that gas out. He makes a semicircle, runs out, gets the other one. By the time he finishes, he's in the middle of that lot. When you look out, you can see the gas fumes. It's just, so we thought, well, he's going to come out and we're going to set this on. Well, he stands in the middle of that thing and strikes that match.
Oh, boy.
He didn't even have to drop it. You hear the boom, boom, boom like that, and the air sets on fire, and then the whole field starts on fire.
Good night.
So he comes running out. So what do you brothers do that when you know your other brother's done something wrong? What do? You run like the heck and go hide. That's what you do. So he comes out. He's got it. All his eyelashes are burnt off. All his eyebrows are burnt. His hair is singed. He looks like something ought to be in a horror show. In the meantime, the neighbors call the fire department. Well, guess who's working at the fire department that day? Granddaddy.
Yeah.
So he pulls up in his own backyard with his field on fire.
It's like, what have these boys done now?
Yeah.
So,
And they put it out, and that's when we learned about what I'll call a privy hedge ass whooping. You get a piece of privy hedge about that long and take a knife and cut off a thing, but there's still little stickers like that. So he got him a privy hedge ass whooping on that.
That thing could get some speed on it, couldn't it? Too?
yeah.
But, you know, I didn't grow up. I always wanted, I was a wannabe. I mean, I always wanted to be a cowboy, but given, you know, our situation, that wasn't going to happen. But Mom tried to do what she could. She'd buy us, you know, cowboy hats, and we've always bought like cap pistol. I remember had the was it Rifleman rifle, and we had a Phantom 50 chap gun. We all that kind of stuff. And I remember one Christmas, Mother bought us all different cowboy stuff, but she brought my middle brother Billy, a vest, a Western vest. Well, back then, I don't think there was too much thought into child safety on toys and clothes. They didn't worry about whether it was fire retardant or, you know, if a kid swallowed it, well, you know, he should have known it was a toy. Next time.
There weren't any safety labels back then.
So he had this vest on, and we went outside, but we also all got a couple of Roman candles. Now, I don't know if you know what those are, but basically it's a round tube about that long, about that big around, and in them it has little fireballs. So you light the end of it, and then they shoot out, you know, one at a time. They'll poof, poof. So we get out there, and we were playing cowboys and Indians, chasing each other down, when my brother Bobby thought, I'm going to use my Roman candle as a gun. So he hides behind the bushes. Billy comes around.
Now, is this the same brother that set the field on fire? The same one?
I tell you.
I think I'm starting to see the problem here.
So Billy runs around the corner. Well, Bobby comes out and lights that Roman candle, and he says something like, hands up, Derringer, or something like that. Well, Billy sees that thing lit. He turns around to run. When he does, that little fireball comes out and hits his vest, sets it on fire.
Again.
He takes off running around hollering and screaming. About that time, Mama comes out and sees him. She tackles him and throws him on his back and rubs and gets the thing out. But by this time, he's got a hole about that big in his thing.
This wasn't, hang on now, you were trying to blame this on the toy manufacturer's problem. This wasn't the toy manufacturer's problem. This was the Highsmith problem.
Well, if it'd been fire retardant. So that was another one of those privy hedge ass whoopings, you know. But anyway, that's kind of like our entertainment, if you will, was, you know.
Setting each other on fire?
Yeah, pretty much. Going outside and doing stuff, you know. My granddaddy had beagles. He was a big rabbit hunter. We used to go rabbit hunting and fishing in the rivers and lakes. And
That's what my dad, he tells stories like that where kids try to kill. Growing up, I mean, that's how they entertained themselves. They had a stud pony.
Yeah.
And the game was one kid would be on the pony, the other four siblings would have to run and get under the fence before the stud pony stomped them. And that was the game. And so y'all were creative back then. So, you know, dangerously creative. But.
And I, like I said, I always wanted a horse, but we didn't have one. But like I said, Mother did what she could to provide the little things to provide us with a cowboy life. Well, I was out one day and we had those pigs, and I was running around there with my stick horse and had my guns and all that, and I got to looking over, I was like, them pigs are pretty big. I was like, you know what, I don't have a horse to ride, but I bet I can ride a dang pig. Well, a pig just kind of like a horse, you can't just go out there and jump on them, so I got a plan. Every day when I come home from school, I had a bucket of corn. I'd lay that corn out. Well, they were kind of suspicious initially. But I kept doing that every day. Eventually they started coming up and eating the corn. And then I got to where when I could just rattle a bucket, they'd come running up, and I got where I could pet them and do all that. So finally one day I thought they're all settled enough. And I said, today's the day. I had my cowboy hat on, my pistol on. I got up, picked out the biggest one, and I jumped on him and grabbed the hoe to his ears and wrapped my legs around him. Off we went, man. I was riding. It might have not been a horse, but I tell you the secret to a pig ride, how long it lasts, the high gut of grip you got on his ears, and how far he goes straight before he darts left or right, because you're coming off then.
The turn.
They don't make, as far as I know, they don't make tack for pigs. So,
so that was your introduction to riding.
that was my introduction to riding.
Now you said they had the mule. Did you know anybody else had horses and stuff when you were a kid? Did y'all ever deal with any horses?
I had some, I guess you'd say, distant relatives that had them. They had those Tennessee walking horses.
Mm-hmm.
But they were kind of, I guess you say, protective of them,
Yeah.
and given we really didn't have any experience and all. We never really had the opportunity to get on them. So, but, so that's kind of a little bit about how I grew up.
So,
and
after childhood, where did you go? What was went on through high school, and where did you go after high school?
Okay. Well, what happened was, as I got older, the Monroe, it's called a water line gas department, is kind of where all of us would work in the summer jobs, like all of our brothers did it. So it came my time, and I worked there. And they like young people like that, because in the summers when they did the sewer lines, the water lines, and all that, and they needed really grunts to do the grunt work. Mm-hmm. So one of the big things we had to do was clean, unstop a sewer line. And that was the awfulest job. I mean, it's because the manholes are in the middle of the street. It's usually June or July. You pull them manholes off, and they're full of roaches. When the light hits, they just go, scatter. And what they had was a piece of equipment, which was all manual. It was kind of little metal sections about this long, and one of them had a piece of metal with teeth on it. Mm-hmm. So what you do is you'd hook
like
them.
Like an auger kind of thing?
Yeah, You'd hook them together and you run it up. You have to go down in the hole and run that up in there till you hit where the stoppage was, and it had a big ratchet. And you'd take that thing and hand crank it and push it, and you keep doing that. So I've been doing this for a couple of years, and this was my first job of responsibility. The guy told me, and they called me Coon Man then, because I had gotten into coon hunting, and so they heard about it, so that was a nickname. They said, Coon Man, to take you and, I forgot the other name, I'll call him Joe. Said, y'all go over and said, we got a sewer line stopped up. I need you to unstop it. I said, okay. So we're going back, we're unloading stuff, and I'm like, I get an idea too. I told you, I said, I think I know a better way to do this. Well, they had this big old industrial air compressor. It had a diesel motor on it. I said, let's hook up that big old air compressor and take that with us. So we hooked that up, and we take it down there, and we pull in the middle of the road. We take the manhole off. I crawled in there, and we start running that line. I run it as far as I can up in that sewer line. So I cranked that thing up, and I put it, I don't know what the pressure, I put it up as high as it'd go. And it had a valve, and I cut the valve off and let it build up. And I'd turn it, and you'd hear it go, it'd go down through that line, and you look and see if you see any water coming through. So we did it 2 or 3 times and started seeing a little bit of water coming through. I said, yeah, it's working, So I cut it off. We were fixing to do it again. I had to look up, and this man come out on his front porch. And he looked down there at us, and he had steps, but he didn't touch it. He jumped off his porch. He come power walking down there where we were, and he looked at us and said, young man, he said, can I ask you what y'all are doing? I said, yes, sir. We got to call the sewer line that's stopped up, and we're unplugging it. He said, by God, it ought to be unplugged, because you have blown all over my bathroom. And we went up there. It was all over the wall, the ceiling. And old Joe looked at me and he said, man, this is bad. I said, not as bad as it could have been. He said, what do you mean? I said, he could have been sitting on that toilet when that happened. Well, that was my first job of responsibility. And I think they never sent me off by myself again after that.
They didn't fire you, though.
No, they didn't. But we had to go in there and clean it and repaint his bathroom. So that was punishment enough.
It's another one of our corporate sponsors, Courtney Hunter Areola. When you talk about a realtor in the Morgan County, Oconee County, that just south of Athens market, she is your go-to girl. Trustworthy, she's knowledgeable, she knows everything, she can help you with anything. She specializes in land and farms. She's with the Keller Williams Lake Oconee team, Miss Rhonda Smith. And if you need a really good real estate agent to guide you through the whole process, whether you're buying or selling, make sure you call Courtney Hunter Areola.
And I grew up just a little bit more in my childhood. I grew up at Baptist, and I grew up in the First Baptist Church. We had a preacher Jet, and he was really, really a nice man. He could relate not only to older people, but young people. So I've been out, I guess I was 10 or 12 years old, and it was time to get baptized. Well, if I had any recommendation to people now, the young person, make sure you do your baptism in the summertime. I did mine in like November, December, and this is a huge church, and there's no way they can heat it up. And they have a big marble bath that fill it. I give it hold, I don't know, 500-600 gallons of water. What they're supposed to do was put, I know these little, they were copper tubing that you put in there and plug it in and heat the water up. Well, either they didn't plug it in or they didn't work. So we were going to do the baptism at night. I go in there and I step in that water, and it is freezing. Well, the preacher's already out in there, and we have these robes on that we go in out there. Well, he's already starting to shake because he's so cold and his lips are turning blue. So then he says what he says, and he, said, well, we're going to have, bring out the James Highsmith, young man inside to accept Lord as his Savior. So I'll go start walking in there, and I'm just freezing. And you go through the curtain. So he gets there, and he says some words. He said, now I'm going to put this handkerchief over your mouth, and I'm going to dump you. So he goes to dump me, and when he does, I go, ooh, but it's right at the wrong time, and I suck in about a pint of water. Well, I'm coughing and gagging, and he's trying to hold me underwater. In the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost, like that. And I know there are people out there in the audience saying, look at that preacher. He is saving that poor boy's soul. They didn't know it. The reason I was that is because I just sucked in a gallon of water, So anyway, that was my baptism.
They thought they were having an exorcism or something up there.
And today I'm hoping that baptism still counted. I hope it did, but.
You was thinking about going from Baptist to Methodist that day, so they'd sprinkle you.
So anyway, so that's kind of how I grew up. And I played football in high school, and left high school and went to ABAC as for about a year, but I was one of those guys, I just wasn't ready for college yet, and I really didn't do very good. So ended up, part of it was I run out of money too. That was when they had the draft, and my number was 50, so I knew I was going in the Army. Mm-hmm. Well, at that time, it was the Vietnam War, and I figured a lot of people were going in the infantry. I didn't really want to go in the infantry. So I joined
what year was that?
It was, I would have been 60, not probably 70. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I joined the Army, but I joined what was called heavy equipment maintenance and operation, because I kind of like heavy equipment. And so I joined that, and went in the Army, spent about a year in the U.S., and then I was lucky, to be honest with you. Even my uncle said, I told him it's kind of like the Seabees in the Navy, what they build the airstrips and everything. I told my uncle, because he was in World War II and he was in the Seabees. And I told him what I joined. He said, what'd you do that for? I said, well, I didn't want to be in the infantry. He said, you fool. He said, those people are the first ones they send over to push down the trees and open the air base and all that. He said, they try to take you out to keep you from building the air base. I'm like, well, I didn't think about that. Mm-hmm. But I was lucky. Just about everybody in my training unit that I was with went to Vietnam except me and another guy. Well, actually 3 guys. I went to Missouri. The other guy went to, he went to Korea, and I forgot what. The other guy was 17, so I think if I understood, you couldn't go over there at 17. So anyway, I guess the good Lord was looking after me. I didn't go to Vietnam, and then eventually I went to Germany. I spent 2 years in Germany, which actually looking back, somebody was looking after me again. I had a really good time, man. I got to travel a lot of Europe and see a lot of things. And actually part of my time there, I applied for an extra duty, a special duty they had in there. In South Germany, they had recreational facilities for the people that were over in Europe. And they had like ski slopes, hotels, and golf courses so they could come over and stay and do whatever the event they want to do. So I applied for a special duty to go and work at that place. And I got accepted, and me and another guy, we actually worked at a ski slope giving out tickets. Well, there wasn't enough business there to keep both of us, so we would take half a days and we'd take turns skiing. So over the course of time, I actually got to be a pretty good skier. Well, one day, it kind of warmed up and the snow got kind of slushy, and then that night it turned really cold, it froze, and it was, the whole mountainside was a solid sheet of ice. So you really couldn't ski on it because it was dangerous. So we all showed up and they said, well, we're not going to ski, and we're all sitting around there. Well, some guy had found a 4-man bobsled stored in a building. So we got thinking, that'd be fun, getting that thing and slide us hauled down that hill. So we get that 4-man bobsled out, and there was 8 of us, so the first 4 guys were going to do it. And they had what they call a T-bar, so we hooked that thing to the T-bar, pulled it up to about halfway up the hill, and they pulled it out, and they got in there and started down the hill. And we heard them hollering and screaming, and you thought, well, they're having a good time. But when we saw them, it wasn't a good time. They were screaming because they were fearing for their life. The thing has 2 big bars on it that you pull, and it has claws on it, and it's supposed to dig in and slow it down. Well, it might work on a regular bobsled, that angle like that, but when you're going down a mountain like that, it doesn't do a bit of good. Ice was shooting about 10, 12 foot in the air, and that guy was standing up trying to, and they come by, I bet they were going 80 miles an hour.
If the brakes don't stop it, something will.
Yeah, that's what happened. And it flattened out, and we thought, well, they're good now. And then it went down the side of the hill and hit a tree and flipped it over. So none of them were hurt. It throwed them out. So, but the whole left side of that thing was pretty messed up. So we ended up taking it back and storing it against the wall where nobody would see it. And we decided that wasn't something we wanted to do anymore.
I can just imagine it being like cool. Have you ever seen the movie Cool Runnings?
Yeah.
We watched that with the kids the other day, and the Jamaican bobsled team and them getting on the thing and riding down the hill in Jamaica with it. Yeah. I can just imagine y'all being some version of that, Oh man.
So, but really, most of my time was spent at a normal military unit. I've spent probably the last, I don't know, say 3 months there. And then I got a European out and stayed over there for about 3 or 4 months and traveled Europe. And one of the places I went to was Spain. And we went to a place called Pamplona, Spain, where they have the running of the bulls.
Oh, yeah, that's
So we were sitting around there, and because the big drink there is sangria. So we've been up all evening and night, sitting there enjoying the festivities and drinking sangria. And one of the guys had found out, he said, they let people come in and participate in running of the bulls. Well, after several glasses of sangria, I thought, yeah, that sounds like fun.
Good idea.
So we go and get in the group, and I don't know if you know anything about this, but basically,
I've seen it on TV.
Well, what it is, they have the pens where the bulls are at, and they have 7 bulls a day. So the bull's in this pen, and the road kind of winds through town, and then it goes into the arena. Well, what they do is they block off all the little alleyways and streets. The houses are shut, but these almost like wood panels, they're about 8 foot high. So when you get in there, you're in there. Mm-hmm. There's no way to get out.
There's no climbing.
No climbing. So we get in there and they shoot a cannon off when they first open it, and then they shoot another cannon when the last bull comes out, and that gives people an idea, well, they close together. So these were kind of spaced out. So we're sitting there and we're just waiting, and there's no need to run because we're like halfway. A little bit people start drifting by, and a little bit people are getting faster, and a little bit people are like hauling butt. And I said, well, it's time for us to go. And the thing about I don't have to run fast, I just got to run faster than you.
Outrun. Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, I was the slow one. The guy I was with, the long-legged guy, and I should have picked somebody else. So we were taking off running, and all of a sudden we see them. And these bulls really are really kind of half wild. They've been out in a pasture. They don't have minimal human contact and big old horns. And I'm running, and this one he's he's catching up with me, and I'm like, oh crap, I'm in trouble. So there's no way to go, so I just lay down and throw myself against the wall and cover my face. But fortunately, there's other people running by, so he runs by me, so I have to do this 2 or 3 times.
You learned the trick then.
Yeah, and by this time I'm like, this ain't no fun. This is not what I signed up for. So we go on down, and you have to go down to where they go into the arena to actually get out. Well, something happened, and the doors to the arena got shut, and so 2 or 3 of those bulls couldn't get in the arena, so they come back out, and they're opening the corral area. And I mean, they are slinging people left and right. You know, catching them by their breeches and slinging them up
These
in
are
the air.
fighting bulls, yeah.
So I thought, well, I go to, now we got just a railing fence which you can climb out of. Oh no, they got people there with sticks, and you try to do it, they're beating you because you're in there. You know?
You chose this life, you got to
stay in there. So people run around, you know, trying to vote. So finally I picked a spot. There were a couple of guys trying to jump out, and these guys were beating them. So I dove underneath and rolled out, and fortunately I got out of there, you know.
Wow.
Those things are ferocious. You know, it used to be that, you know, there for a while it was real popular for people to bring a fighting bull to the rodeos, and they'd sell the rodeo or something with it. So
Yeah.
they'd be out there with the clown barrel. And you work them and do whatever. And man, those things, they get, and there was a video that went viral just not long ago. Those things get focused in on one thing or one person, and it's like a swarm of bees. They just don't quit. They'll go till they kill themselves.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're kind of vicious. I mean,
We were watching that on YouTube while we been gone to the beach, and they said that we were watching Cody, the bullfighter. What's his name? Webster. He had them, and he was feeding them. But what Tyler was telling me was, is as long as you feed them in a group, it's okay. But if you get one off by themselves, you better watch out. Like
they used to put those things in a blacked out pen. They put tarps around their pens, because if they like you said, if they were by themselves or did whatever, they'd kill themselves just trying to fight something. I mean, they were relentless. So we had one at Canton, Georgia one time that got Bane Sheely and got him down. And I mean, I went over there and picked it off of him with the barrel, and he beat on the barrel for a while, and then he went back over there. They couldn't get him up. He was hurt. And they went back over and got back on him again. I mean, they were relentless.
Well, that day, we bought the newspaper for that day just because to have it as a souvenir. And of course, I don't speak Spanish, but there was a lady that do it, and she rang and said, "You read this?" And I said, "No." Actually, there was like 2 people killed in that arena that day because of that, you know. So the things we do when we drink too much.
Yeah. That's sangria, didn't it?
Never drank sangria.
That was a bad idea. Yeah.
So now back to the skiing thing. Julia's always told me that you were on the ski patrol. So was that what you're talking about? The ski patrol was when y'all working the ski slopes and thing or whatever?
Yeah,
I got you.
Yeah, and it was. I had to say, you know, when you live with a group of guys in the same building, you're eating together, showering together. I guess it's a good fraternity. You know, there's probably 8 of them, and I still see and talk. We actually had a reunion a while back, and we all got together. I mean, it's really is a good, what you call it, a friendship reunion. There's kind of nothing like it, you know. Like you can not see each other for a year, and when you get back together, it's like boom, instant, you know, connection. So it was quite. For me, to be honest with you, it's probably what I needed, because I didn't really have any direction when I went day back. I mean, I went there. I was a typical college student, partied and didn't do too well, you know, made bad grades. So probably the best thing for me, because when I come back, it's kind of like, okay, I'm ready to do something now, you know.
How long were you in the military?
I was in there 3 years.
I got you. Man, you got a lot in 3 years. You kind of got to see some stuff in 3 years.
Yeah. So came back, and I will say this. I mean, it's nothing to do with PTSD, but there is an adjustment when you come from the Army back to civilian life, because, you know, you're supplied housing, food, you kind of told what to do, when to do it, and all that. So you come back, all that's gone. So now you got to reboot, you know, and kind of start over. I never thought it would be that way, but it was. You know, you're a little bit lost. But, you know, had a good mother and a brother who'd been through it, so we got along fine. Well, I had always wanted to go out west. Well, let me go back. So once I got home, I was kind of just drifting around, and one of my buddies, David Patrick, he was gotten into the scuba diving. So he was taking lessons, and then they had to take what they call certification dive, and they were going to do it in Key West. So he knew I was out, didn't have anything to do. I had a little money in my pocket, and he said, "You want to go to Key West with me?" And I said, "Yeah." And so there was three of them, and he had one of them old VW vans, with the foot popped up. So we all load up, and he's got his scuba diving gear, and we take off to Key West. So we get way down somewhere in South Florida, and it's late in the evening, and we pull over in a kind of a rest area / little park. And we spend the night, and we get up that morning, we eating breakfast, and while we're eating, we hear this, and there's a lot of marsh out there. So we hear this rattling, and this raccoon comes out. And we throw it a piece of bread, and it grabs it, and it runs off. About 10 minutes later, it comes out, and it's got 4 babies with it. So we were out there feeding a baby, and I'm looking at it, I was like, man, I've always wanted me a baby raccoon. So I start feeding one of them, and I keep getting it closer and closer, and finally it gets closer. Well, I grabbed it. I got me a pet baby raccoon. About that time, that thing went like that. And mama, she's over there on what they had those old concrete picnic tables. She hears that, she comes and she lunges off that thing and coming after me. Well, the van, that VW van, the door happened to be open, so I jump in the van, and I'm fixing to shut the door. I can't get the door to shut, and by the time I do, right when I'm shutting it, it jumps in the van with me. So now I'm locked in there with this pissed off raccoon. So
you better let it go.
And so now I'm sitting there, I got flip-flops and a pair of shorts on. And the only thing I can find for protection is there happened to be a big stack of styrofoam plates. I grab them and it jumps at me, and I'll hit it like that, and it grabs them, and it slings them. Well, over time, these styrofoam plates are getting smaller and smaller. Finally, I get the door open, and I run out, and I throw the coon down. She gets them all together and take them, so I didn't get my baby raccoon.
That's funny.
So,
I can just imagine. I mean, that's got to be as wild as having bats in a pillowcase. you and 2 raccoons in a Volkswagen van.
you think our buddies would help me, but they were all in there looking through the window, just laughing like that. Just wanting to see, well, where's this going?
That's funny. Well, you have a beautiful lady in your life, so let's talk. So how did that come about?
Okay, so I come back and ended up before I get into that.
Yeah.
I always wanted to go out west.
Okay.
So I decided, while I was in the Army, there was a guy that was from Oregon, and he had told me about a junior college in Bend, Oregon, called Central Oregon Community College. He said, man, you ought to go there. So he got Mount Bachelor, which was a nice ski area. And he said, just a small town, little college town. He said, you'd like it. I come home and decided, okay, it's time for me to get going. So applied and got accepted. And I bought a old 6-cylinder pickup truck, Chevrolet, 3-speed on the column, had just a little small shell camper on it. And 2 of my buddies wanted to go out there with me, and they were going to fly back. And I said, well, come on. So I loaded up my blue jeans, my boots, my tennis shoes, and a fishing rod, and that's all I needed. We take off. Well, we get, part halfway out there. I'm not sure where I was. It may have been, it's either Colorado, New Mexico, South Dakota, I'm not sure. But again, we got to remember this is in 1974, 75. So, I mean, it wasn't as crowded as it is now. Mm-hmm. And so the roads, they didn't have a lot of filling stations or wasn't any malls or anything. So you would travel a long ways and not see anything. Well, we're going along there, and there's a field, and it's full of broom sage. And I had to go to the bathroom. I mean, I've been holding it, and I couldn't wait any longer. And I'm like, we're out in the middle of nowhere, so what does it matter? So I pulled the truck over, and I walked way out in that broom sage, and there's a couple of pretty good-sized bushes. And I said, I can probably have some privacy right here. So I pull my pants down, I squat down, and about that time I hear this. I'll never forget this noise. Like that, and something bang hits me right in the rear end. Well, it scares me. I lose my balance. I'm falling over, and I'm wondering, are these a little tribe of mini Indians out here or something? What the heck, So I'm trying to keep from falling over. And I get back up, and I'm kind of grub worming, trying to get away from it, and I hear it again. And he hits me again. So I keep grub worming through the sagebrush and finally get away, and I look back. And it's some kind of big old bird with a beak about that long. And I guess he's saying, oh, heck no, you ain't doing that in my neighborhood. So anyway, so finally, I ended up being able to clean up and do what I needed to do and get back in the truck, and then went on out to Oregon.
Yeah.
So I was out there in Oregon for like 2 years going to school. And actually out there I got a job with a National Forest Service. I was actually a firefighter with what they call the hot shots, where they go out and fight forest fires. Mm-hmm. So I did that for a good half a year and fought some pretty good sized fires while I was out there. Well, finished that, then came back home, and then got accepted to Georgia and got my first degree in animal science. Okay. Worked in that for a while. And then I decided to go back, and I got my degree in accounting, and then got a job with IBM. I guess with the animal science and accounting, I can count cows now. So, that's why they got me at the sale barn.
One of our sponsors is Jake Wilcox. He is with Iris Inc. Realty. He is right here in Oglethorpe County, and anything from farms and land, horse farms, cattle farms, a little bit of residential, a little bit of commercial, anything like that. He's a hardworking guy. He's trustworthy and will do a great job for you.
So now you asked me about meeting Julia. We were at a place called Studebaker's down in downtown Atlanta. And it's actually, I had joined the Air Force Reserve. I spent about 9 years in Air Force Reserve. Well, we were fixing to go out to the country of Panama, like a humanitarian mission. So we were there that night because we were leaving the next day, just having a good time, and that's where I met Julia. She had kind of just gotten her divorce. I was divorced. And we kind of hit it off and was dancing, and she asked me, said, what is your degree in? And I happened to say animal science. Well, she didn't believe me because a guy in the middle of Atlanta, animal science degree, bull. And she said, no, I don't believe that. And I said, yeah, I have a degree in animal science. So she goes out to the middle of the dance floor and does this. And she said, what am I doing? I said, showing a cow. She said, you do have a degree. So she thought I was putting her in a little
That sounds just like Julia.
So that's how we met, And so I left, and I was gone for 2 weeks in the country of Panama. Well, I got a little story on that too. We went, when we get there, where we're going is way back up in the little mountainous area. And we can only drive so far because eventually there's no road, it's just a little trail. So we drive as far as we can, and we have to backpack everything in. And the purpose there was to help rebuild some of the schools that had kind of dilapidated, and so we were going to do construction work. So, but at that time, I can't remember the rebel group that was running there, but we had to carry our machine guns because there is this rebel group that's anti-American, and so we were sleeping in these schools, and we were there over a weekend, and during the weekend they were having a dance in this local community, and the music there, to me, after a while, it all sounded the same. It's kind of terrible, to be honest with you, but our sergeant who's in charge, he said, tell you what, he said, won't you, like 2 or 3 of you go at a time and just experience it, but don't just stay out of the way and then come back, and we'll do it in small groups. So we did, and you went around and listened to it, and what we found out was if you dance for the girl, you're supposed to pay money. I think it was a benefit for the community, but we didn't understand it. So they'd come up and, would say something, and we would just go, because, you don't want to start anything. So anyway, we did that for a while, and then the next morning, we wake up, and there's a guy laying out there, and we walk up, he's dead. Well, come to find out, during the night, one of the girls had come up and asked a guy to dance. Well, the boyfriend didn't like it. They get in a fight. One had a knife, and one had a stick. One killed the other one. I don't know which one it was. So we go out there and throw a sheet over it, and a sergeant radios down to the military base in the town. They notify the local police. Well, this policeman comes up with a burro and comes up there, picks the dead guy up, puts it on the burro and ties it on the burro, puts the guy in handcuffs and ties him to the burro, and off they go back down to the woods. So, it's...
y'all solved the murder mystery.
Yeah, we did.
Y'all and the guy with the burro.
So anyway, we come back, and I called up Julia, and we started dating, and kind of hit it off pretty good. And of course, Lauren, your wife now, she was, I think, 3. And so we dated for, I guess, about a year, and we got married. And she's probably one of the best things that happened in my life. Not only is she just a good person, but we just had so much in common. A joke was we were had gotten set the plans, and her sister and family were in town, and we were at a restaurant eating, and we both got through with our salad bowls at the same time, and both at the same time we took our finger and Carol, her sister, was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it," So that's kind of like we're just kind of in sync, But she's also one that she grew up with horses, and she wanted the same thing. So I really didn't have the opportunity to get into horses until I was probably 40. And I bought my first horse. We bought a little place in Canton, a little house with 7 acres. And I bought my first horse. The name was Traveler. It was a perfect horse. And so that's where we started. And of course, Lauren got into it, and I coached her softball team. Started out at a rec ball like y'all are doing, and eventually she wanted more, so we got into travel ball. And I never played a game of fast pitch softball in my life, and ended up being her head coach. But she had a good time, but it came to a point where she was like, she was doing the barrel racing and all that, and at the same time playing this travel ball. And I was like, we can't do both because you're starting to miss practices, game. So she said, well, I ain't giving up horses, which suited me. I'd had enough for the softball. Mm-hmm. So, and then so she, as has done, she's doing well in the softball business, but now in the horse industry. Mm-hmm. But it's through them and now y'all that I'm getting to live kind of my dream. I'm getting to come to y'all's place, and I get to strip calves of ropes, and I get to ride with them and all that. So
you're good shoot.
Finally, the dream come true.
Well, Jim's pretty good with young horses too. We've sent a couple of the real good roan horse that Lauren's got, and then the colts she's got now. We let them go live with Jim and Julia for. Yeah. He's a groundwork aficionado, and I don't have the patience for it. So, so I tell Jim all the time, I guess I'm too ignorant for all that. I just want to get on him and go do something. But he's made a world of difference. Y'all do a lot of groundwork stuff.
Yeah, I got in when I first started. The one thing I did learn and know is if you don't know something, you have to educate yourself, and you do it by going to people that know what they're doing. Right. And there's a lot of different clinicians out there. I just happened to pick Clinton Anderson because his method is very straightforward. It's simple. A, B, C, D. If D don't work, go back to C. Some people don't like him. He kind of could clean up his mouth a little bit. I'll agree. I'm not worried about that. I want to know whether his product works, and for me it does. Right. So that's how I got started in it, and it's really kind of helped me a lot. Now I will say this: I've had the good fortune of about, I think 7-8 years ago, Judy and I went out to Wyoming to a place called Medicine Bow Lodge. It's one of those dude ranches. So we went out there and rode and hit the road up in the mountains. It was real pretty and scenic. But we got to be real good friends with them. And jokingly, I said something about, he was talking about, it was in May he has to start up. What happens is, because of their winters, they can't keep the horses where their lodge is at. They're at 8,500. Like one year they got 500 inches of snow. So he has to take them in the valley. Well, they don't get ridden any in the winter. So in May, he has to bring them back up. And they got to ride them, get them in shape, make sure, something's not going to buck a guest off and all that. So he joked about, well, you need to come out and help me. And I said, well, I started doing that. And I think this year was my 5th year going out. So we go out there and we'll ride on one horse for a couple of days and another one for a couple of days. So because of getting with this horses, opened up this opportunity to go out there and spend 2 weeks, riding horses in the mountains. So
your pictures were cool the other day. I mean, it was 90 degrees here one day, and Jim had pictures on Facebook of them riding in the snow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. When we got there was no snow, and for 2 days we rode in really nice weather. At night, it turned like 20 degrees, and it snowed. Probably 3-4 inches of snow, and then we were riding in the snow. And then May. So it was, but that's been a good opportunity that I've enjoyed. While we're there, you see a big moose walks through the little compound. The 2 things I hadn't seen yet that as a mountain lion and a elk, because they have them there, but I hadn't had the chance.
Because you had a video of the moose, didn't you? Didn't you have a video of the moose?
Yeah.
Now, what about hunting dogs? I know you still have some rabbit dogs. You mentioned that you grew up with rabbit dogs.
Well, yeah.
How did y'all get into hunting dogs, and what have you done with that?
My granddaddy, growing up, he always had a batch of rabbit dogs. That was his thing, and like I said, that was kind of one of our entertainments, And he usually had some pretty good dogs. So that's kind of how it instilled my interest. I got 2 brothers that don't care anything about that. It's funny how the gene pool works, They could care less, but I kind of fell in love with it. And I always, over time, I've always had beagles. And then I got into coon hunting, and I got a good story on that, going to coon hunting. I don't remember how I met these guys, because they were like from Covington, but they were older people. But I had met them, and I told them I had an interest in going, and they said, well, we'll take you. So they would come by and pick me up, and I was still in high school, so I was probably, 17. So we'd go, and these coon hunts and all that. One time there was 3 guys, and they had 4 dogs. So they turned the dogs out, and they hit a coon pretty quick, run up, and they didn't go very far in the tree to coon. Well, it's like, well, we want more of a race than that. So I said, Jim, we're going to get you to hold these dogs, and we're going to knock the coon out, and we'll turn them loose. Well, 4 dogs, they probably weigh 80 to 90 pounds apiece. That's 350 pounds.
Were they like walkers or something?
Well, they each had a blue tick, red bones, I think, and 1 walker. Well, but these are fired up dogs, So they got leather leashes. So I took the loop and put it over my hand, because I'm sitting back and I'm like, I got to hold these things, and that coon falls out, because they know what's happening. So they knock the coon out, and when it hits the ground, those things take off, and they launch me into the air. And I don't weigh about 175 pounds. So I am one, and I'm trying to get up, and every time I get up, they just pull me back down again. And they're pulling me through the trees and the briars. The only thing that stops me, I'm going through, and I had a light on my head so I can kind of see. There's a big old sapling about that big, and I centered that thing, and it caught me right here, and that's what, if it hadn't been that, they'd have just dragged me through the woods, because all these guys were back there laughing like heck, So, but I couldn't let go of the leash, because it was levered. It just locked my hands in.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, that's kind of one of the, the stories on the coon hunting thing. But I have beagles now, and I enjoy it. And I told Jake here a while back, went to a place that's pretty remote over off of outside of, what is it, Sandy Cross, out in that area.
Yeah.
It's like 700 acres, and part of it is cut over, and it goes into kind of a swampy area. And I had seen going around, I had seen pig tracks, but we're on the side of the hill, and it's during the day, and I didn't really think anything about it. So we're out there, the dogs are running, they lose the rabbit, so I'm up there with them and walking around trying to jump another one, and I see them kind of scatter, and I'm like, what the heck's going on? So I kind of ease up, and by the time I see it, it's only 10 feet from me. It's about a 300-pound wild pig. Well, the time I see it, it sees me. Well, it comes after me, and the only thing I got about a 5-foot walking stick. And all I do is hold it, and I punch him in the face, and he veers off, and he knocks me down. Well, now I'm worried he's going to come back after my butt, so I get up, but he's gone on, so.
Yeah.
You're not enough of a spring chicken anymore to be doing all
Not
that.
like that.
Pigs anymore, Jim. Now, did you ever? I think I've heard you tell some stories too. You used to take Lauren some when she was younger. That might have been some of. I pick with Lauren all the time that she grew up in Atlanta and in the city, but you tried to kind of make a country girl out of her, didn't you?
Yeah, and she would go with me sometimes, and I'd make sure I stayed with her, and if I went off, I'd stay in eyesight. She kind of wanted to go, but I think what killed her was we would go down to South Georgia, and we went down there I think it's December, and it was pretty cold. So she went down with us. We were actually hunting, and this guy had a big deer club. It was probably like 2,000 acres, but the road dead end to this deer club. It was a great place to go. And so I kind of stayed on the outskirts where she could stay with me. And we had a good day, spent all day, and we got ready to come back. And it was dark, and we started to come out of that place, and my vehicle just died. And I'm like, what the heck? And so now we're way down South Georgia. It's probably 8 o'clock at night, and I got a little girl with me. And I'm like, and there's only one house right there, and I had to get out and walk down to it, and it was an older black lady, and I knock on the door, and because, she's suspicious, who is this white guy coming up my door? And I told her the thing, and I told her, I said, yeah, I said, we got here in my truck quick, and I got a couple of buddies, my daughter here. She said, you got your daughter here? I said, yeah. I said, how old is she? And I said, I don't know, she's probably 10, 11, I don't remember. He said, you need to bring her in. So she let us all come in her house. I had to call the wrecker. Well, it took forever to wrecker get there. So then we had to ride we rode in the wrecker, and the other two guys rode in the back of the pickup, back of the truck, from all the way below Macon up to Canton.
Wow.
And come to find out, the only problem was I had water in the gas line, and it froze up, because the next day I went to it, and it run fine.
It thawed out.
If I'd have put some of that, that, what is it, alcohol stuff in it would have worked fine, But I think that probably killed her incentive for wanting to have anything to do with it.
I think I killed Riley. I took Riley to Missouri with us to go duck hunting. And it didn't start out. She had the flu when we left, and she got sick on the way out there. And then we got out there, and we went and stayed at this lodge. And all the boys were all, Justin's boys had been. They're eat up with hunting, and Riley thought she was. And the lodge, the room we had was right next to the main room, and so those guys, all the guys and stuff, they'd stay up all till 1 o'clock in the morning, partying and drinking and having a big time and music playing and whatever, and you about couldn't sleep. And then at 4 in the morning, you were up going duck hunting, and it was cold, and we didn't kill a whole lot of ducks, and she was sick, and she felt bad. And boy, she's every time I ask her, she loves to go dove hunting with me or deer hunting with me here at home. But I say something about going duck hunting, and she says, "Nah, I'm not
It's cold.
Nah, I'm not going. That's too early in the morning and too far away. I'm not doing it." So I think I ruined her on it too.
I just remind me, talking about the hunting and fishing, when I've been out in Oregon, I had done a lot of fly fishing. So when I come back, years later, it's before I had married Julia, I was living in apartments that was close to the Chattahoochee River. And they had some decent trout fishing there. So what I would do is I would take, you couldn't park on the road, but what you do is I would have like a three-speed bicycle, and I had them old baskets on the back, and I'd put my waders in there and my spinning rod. I would drive down and park on the bridge and ride my bicycle to the river, and I'd throw it over in the bushes, and I'd go out there and wade and trout fish. Well, I decided it was and a lot of times I do it on weekend, it was kind of crowded. So I decided to take, I think, a Wednesday or Thursday off to go fishing because it wouldn't be as crowded. Well, it was kind of overcast that day, a little windy, a little cool, but I went anyway, rode over there, threw my bike in the bushes and started down the river. Well, I didn't realize it, but that river has, I guess you'd say, a schedule about when they run water, to generate power. Well, had the gates open, and the rocks that were typically I could see and all that were non-existent. Mm-hmm. And it was rolling, but by George, I'd taken off. I was going fishing. So I had my waders on, and thank God I had pulled up a belt to tighten it around here. So I got out there wading, and the water is consistently right up this high when normally it's mid-thigh. So I'm walking along there and I'm fishing, which was because you throw a lure in there and it go, a fish couldn't catch it even if it wanted to. So I'm walking along there and a little bit it happened. I stepped off in a hole. I went under and I come up about 15 or 20 yards on the other side of the river, and I'm dog paddling, and trying to get my feet, and finally I get over on the other bank, and there's like a little island sticks out. Well, I get out. Well, I'm soaking wet now and I'm freezing. So I'm like, I got to get out of these clothes. So I get on that little island on the back side of it, and I'm looking around. There's nobody there. So I pull off all my clothes, and I'm wringing them out, and I've got them hanging on trees, just kind of let them dry out a little bit so I can get back in and go across. Because there's one little old spot of sun, and I'm standing in that little old spot of sun, trying to get warm. Well, while I'm standing there, I hear this noise behind me. I look back there, and wouldn't you know, here comes Miss Susie Q from Alpharetta with a pink running outfit and her pink shoe, running down there, and I'm turning out. I'm facing her butt naked. And she slams on brakes and screams. Her feet comes out from her, and she busts her rear end. She gets up and takes off, and I'm like, uh-oh, I know what's going to happen now. She's going to go back and call the police, say there's a homeless person down here camped out, butt naked on the river. So I throw my stuff back on. I fumble and swim and fall and then get back on the other side of the river and get my bike, and I get the heck out of there.
That's funny.
Oh, Jim. If it's not a raccoon in a Volkswagen, it's a bird. It's a bird on the ass, or it's naked in front of the chicks in Alpharetta, huh?
Yeah.
That's funny.
So, Jim, man, I've had a good time today.
Yeah.
Jim, I tell you what, I know you got tons of stories, and you could probably just tell us still for hours and hours, but I feel like we got some really good ones, and we really do appreciate you coming today. I appreciate all you do for us, man, and come back.
I will. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
All right.
That was fun.
Thank you, Jim.
You.
Yeah.